Heard it from the tribe of Judah, 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 Judah.
He know we from the tribe of Judah,
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 Judah.
He said he from the tribe of Judah,
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 Judah.
Judah.
He know we from the tribe of Judah,
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 Judah.
Judah.
He said he from the tribe of tale of a real Judah, a son of immigrants. He out of Texas, but his people come from Evo land. He had his mother and his father, and they taught him well. But he was a prodigal son, he gave his people hell. He from the neighborhood, not the Roberts neighborhood. But I promise you won't find Mr. Rogers in this neighborhood. Heavily influenced by his environment. Train up a child so it's worthwhile at your retirement. Hold up, that's free game. Script not lit, man. That prophet got living water, watch it drip, man. That Judah saw living water and he sipped, man. Got drunk and did gymnastics, made him flip, man. Judah,
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 Judah, Judah.
He know we from the tribe of Judah,
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 Judah.
Judah.
He said he from the tribe of Judah,
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 Judah, Judah.
He know we from the tribe of Judah,
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 Judah, Judah.
He said he from the tribe of fresh out of prison. Young Judah been through a lot. If you ask him, he say he Christian, but really, homie, did not care nothing about the word, man. He was thinking birds, man. Bird box, if you get knocked, you ain't seen nothing. That was church, man. What the law? Young homie was ducking laws. I bet the most high laugh at y'all, cause our freedom be in the law. But the father was working, though. Young Judah was searching, yo. He's in the oven, not ready, but it's early, though. Ain't even in the Bible yet. He's reading Christian books. Got him thinking about Revelation and how the world will look, or how the cold temple. That's what our life is like, but understand it's a higher who likes the pie to light. Free game. Judah,
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 Judah, Judah.
He know we from the tribe of Judah, Judah, Judah. He said he from the tribe of Judah, Judah, Judah. He know we from the tribe of Judah, Judah. He said he from the tribe. One day he got the message that people pouring in hell, but they said if you believed in Jesus, then everything would be well. See, contradictions and side effects of religion. Don't be robbed of your glory by following man's traditions. Who can make straight what the Most High make crooked? Only He can. But instead of searching His way, we going the way that He bends. That's the state that we in, not knowing which way to repent. Make your next move your best move, lest you repent to the deep end. You see, young Judas is like a lot of young Judas, but who helped young Judah to become a real Judah? Cause this story is about patience and patiently raising children. Remember, train up your child so it's worthwhile in the end. You see, his mother and his father, they was there and united. See, Satan won a few rounds, but the family, they kept on fighting. The father put him in the oven and molded him how he wanted. The fire is life we've been through. He gives you what you get from it.
Yeah, that'll work.
Welcome to the Hebrew state of being. We are your humble servants and hosts for tonight. I am Kayel. I pray that you guys are ready for tonight. Trip is in the building, salute. So, cultural appropriation, the covenant. That's the title of the show tonight, right? Because there's a whole bunch of stories out here. Everybody got conversations and stories, and they got their own history. They got their own lives. I mean, they stack their lives in universities. They stack their lives in man's traditions. They stack their lives in oral traditions. They stack their lives in rituals. They got a whole bunch of lying stories out on the street. It's rampant. You know, it was back in the day when, a man's word meant something. A woman's word meant something. You know what that something meant? Covenant. Your word was your bond, your covenant. It's the same thing that the Most High has with his children. A covenant, a bond, a word, my 100. That's what this is, right? But we can agree at least that there's been at least 7,000 years on this earth. Some people say billions, some say trillions of years. Some say you can't begin to count the years that the earth has been here. Well, we're talking about mankind. All right? Regardless of the fact that history will tell you the oldest tree, and let me just get y'all that right. In the Great Basin pine, Pinus longiva has been deemed the oldest tree in existence, reaching an age over 5,000 years. So when we look at the oldest tree, right, because we know trees been here before everybody, right? I know my internet kind of kicked everybody out. I pray everybody come back on in. I know it paused for a second and I lost everybody. I pray that everybody can come back on in. But as we still got our people on Instagram. We didn't lose there. We only got lost on our Facebook and our YouTube. But anyway, let's get to it. So as we're talking here, we're saying the oldest thing alive in the world that's a tree is 5,000 years. Trees been here before we can imagine. Nobody planted the trees, right? We didn't plant trees. Trees was already here. The oldest tree is over 5,000 years. So we'll just say mankind has been here at least 7,000 years. So 7,000 years, we've had a lot of stories come out about what is the beginning of time, where is the cradle of civilization, where's the first civilization, who was the smartest civilization. We have all these stories because every civilization seemed to have wanted to come up with their own creation story. See, creation is extremely important. Whoever can take claim for the breath that you breathe, or for the earth that you walk on, or for the sun that illuminates the sky, or the moon that illuminates our night. See, the culture that can redefine those facts, then they can either brainwash a group of people to do what they want them to do for the reasons that they want them to do it, all based upon if you can create a story of where the sun, the moon, the stars, man, and the breath of man came from. You will find in Mayan cultures, they say we came from a stalk of corn. You'll find in the Mormons, let me see another crazy creation story. The Vedas, no, let's go to Egypt. The Egypt story is Atom. He masturbated and brought forth life through masturbating with his left hand. You have all types of creation stories, and those creation stories you can directly look at how that culture has developed because they developed from the beginning story. Everybody want to go back to the beginning. You're Africa. I want to go back to Africa. Why? Because you want to go back to the beginning. You believe you came from Africa, so therefore you want to go to the source. See, the story of the source is extremely important for the rest of the story. It's extremely important for the rest of the generations. Because what you start with, undoubtedly, you're going to end with. So if you start with lies, then you're going to end up in some type of lie, some type of farce, some type of believing that you can be reincarnated and you come back as a cat or a goat, or you come back as some leader, or you were Joan of Arc in some past life or some craziness, right? See, if you don't have a core understanding of your creation, which I am saying tonight is your covenant, your creation story, your understanding of how you got here is your covenant. It's the bond. Yeah, I see Ty. I pray that y'all can see. If you guys can go over to twitch.tv, it may be better, or you can switch over to Black Mask and Nola, but you won't be able to see the scriptures I'm about to pull up on the screen. All right. So they have one tree is called as old timers go, the Methuselah tree, as we know, as Methuselah was the oldest person, right, to live, right? Since everybody say old as Methuselah, well, there's a 4,851-year-old tree called Methuselah in California, White Mountains. Take some beating, according to research related last week. This ancient brittlestone pine will be 4,851 years old. Now, and they say here, just for giggles, right? How old is the oldest human? Well, we don't do that. We're gonna switch over to our scripture. Just wanted to make the point of when we're talking about living things on this earth, and you have all of these people talking about carbon dating and talking about millions and trillions of years and saying that we evolved. Do you know why they want to tell you that we have millions and millions of years ago of this earth, and that things just evolve? Because if everything evolved, then there's no covenant, there's no creator. If you just evolve from a monkey into a human being, if you evolve from a fish into a human being, if you evolve from being a Neanderthal into a human being, then it takes away the Most High. It breaks your covenant with a creator that made you intellectual, that gave you the complexities of your personality, the complexities of feeling, the complexities of community. It says certain groups did evolve, they are hybrids, but that doesn't apply. No, it doesn't apply, because we're talking about the seed of the Most High. we're talking about the chosen, right? We're talking about the ones that are called human, the ones that have hue and man. You know, we talk about us, as you said, say la vie, salute. You know what I'm saying? We are not talking about the hybrids of the Denisovians and the Neanderthals. We're not talking about the Amalekites and the Amalekites that were of the fallen angels. We're not talking of the he-goat that Daniel speaks of when he speaks of the Greeks and the Romans in his prophecies of the devil. We are talking about the covenant, that if you don't understand your beginning, if you are willing to overlook your beginning and say, I'm just going to take it up from right here where I am. I don't care about what has happened in the past. My brother Mike in the building, my brother Mike and I, we go deep into this particular topic, right, of history and how we evolved. My brother Mike and I talk about the Dogons and the Dagons and the Hopi Indians and all of these different creation stories, right? It's important to understand where every other culture said it came from. It allows you to see that you ain't that, or if you resonate with that, then maybe that's where you should be. But understand that every culture, every mentality, every thought process, every family, every bloodline has a beginning story which is their beginning covenant. Because if your beginning has no covenant, no laws to it, no structure to it, then you are a person that embodies do as thy wilt. You don't believe that you go back to a source. You don't believe that you have to be answered for, or your actions you have to answer for. You believe that your existence is a singular thing that happened through evolution. Y'all understand what I'm explaining tonight? That if you believe that you come from these millions of years ago and you evolved from an organism that was twinkling in the Arctic or twinkling in the water and became a bioorganism that later grew into some type of animal that was either amphibious or land, or started off amphibious, then was able to be on land, and then evolved into a monkey or evolved into whatever, a primate, then became you as a human. See, with that thought process, there is no creator. There's nothing for you to be accountable to. You just happen to be here. And you can do as thy wilt, with no structure, with no care, long as it makes you happy. To whatever culture or whatever doctrine you decide to walk in your life, you should really understand the beginning of that doctrine, where it came from a full understanding, because that's where the covenant is made. The deal that's made at that moment is the deal that perpetuates the existence of you. We're in chapter 71, right? We're in 70, right? Reading through 73. We read 70 the other night. But this chapter here on the screen, if you are following us on Facebook, it starts, they combine 70 and 71 together. So the beginning of this 70 on here is, 71 is actually the 70 that I read in the book. So we're going to go through that. But here in Enoch 71 and 72, he is explaining the covenant of the sun and the moon. See, when these cultures talk about their existence, many of them are short sighted. They only talk about how they were created, because that's what's most important to them, is them. Not the entire world, not the entire ecosystem, not all that the Most High has created for us. But in Enoch 71 and 72, 73, we're going to go through the sun and the moon and its beginning, as it being our covenant, that the Most High created the sun and the moon to be the original covenant with us. You have doctrines such as Catholicism that says there's a new covenant, a New Testament, a new book. We don't subscribe to that, because there's an original promise, there's an original covenant, there's an original agreement between man and his creator that the creator is still adhering to, as man creates its own stories, its own background, its own get out of jail free cards. Right? So let's start. It says, and I saw in those days how long cords were given to the angels, and they took to themselves wings and flew, and they went towards the north. When I asked the angel, saying unto him, why have those angels taken those cords and gone off? And he said to me, they have gone to measure. And the angels who went with me said unto me, these shall bring the measure of the righteous, and the ropes of the righteous to the righteous, that they may stay themselves that they may stay themselves on the name of the Most High of spirits forever and ever. So here in Enoch, he's up in the heavens and he's seeing these angels flying with these ropes in their hands and these cords. And he's asking the angels, why are these angels flying with these cords? And they said that they are measuring out the righteous, and the ropes of the righteous to the righteous, so that we would have strength. I wonder if those ropes be like the words of the prophets, because those words are the only things that are keeping us in this day following the order of the Most High, that gets us back into the heavens, that gets us back to Shemayim. Imagine if we didn't have an Ezekiel, if we didn't have a Jeremiah, we would actually believe in this do as thy wilt mentality. So the ropes are for the righteous from the Most High of spirits. The elect shall begin to dwell with the elect, and those are the measures which shall be given to faith, and which shall strengthen the righteousness. And these measures shall reveal the secrets of the depths of the earth, and those who have been destroyed by the desert, and those who have been devoured by the beast, and those who have been devoured by the fish of the sea, that they may return and stay themselves on the day of the elect one. For none shall be destroyed before the Most High of spirits, and none can be destroyed. Whoa, wait. Don't we have death? How can Enoch be talking about none of the elect ones can be destroyed? If we understand that energy, I see in the building, Ashley, if we understand that your energy doesn't die, right? Energy doesn't die, so that means you don't die. If your energy doesn't die, then you don't die. Only one that has the power to kill you, to cancel you totally, is the Most High Spirits. You know what I'm talking about? If we really walk with that and understand that there's no one that can destroy you, your energy is infinite. It's eternal. 6. And all who dwell above in the heavens receive a command and power and one voice and one light like unto fire. It says, get this, and all who dwell above in the heavens receive a command and power and one voice and one light like unto fire. I'm going to read this again, y'all. This is the book of Enoch. We're in chapter 70, right? Now, this verse 6 is hard to find in the Sefer. This is part of the sacred text. But it's interesting because just like before, I told you between what you see on the screen and what my book has, many people flip these around. So I'm going to read now from the beginning of 70, right? 71. The ending of 70 in my Sefer says, there I beheld the fathers of the first men, where it says, it was exalted in the chariots of the Ruach and went forth in the midst of them, from the time was drawn into the midst of them, and was seated between the two rocks, between the north and the west, where the angels received their ropes to measure out the place of the elect and the righteous. There I beheld the fathers of the first men, and they beheld the fathers of the first men of the Kodashim who dwell in the place forever. And it says here, and that one, the first words they blessed and exalted and loaded the wisdom, and they were wise in their utterance in the spirit of life. And the Most High of spirits placed the elect one on the throne of glory, and he shall judge the works of the holy above in heavens, and their balance shall be weighed, shall their deeds be weighed. And when they shall lift lift up his countenance to judge their secret ways according to the word of the name of the Most High of spirits, and the path according to the way of righteous judgment and the spirit and the judgment of the Most High of spirits. Then shall they all with one voice speak and bless and glorify and extol and sanctify the name of the Most High of spirits. Now, and then it'll say here, and he will summon all those, he shall summon all the hosts of the heavens and the holy ones above and the hosts of the Most High. Now, I'm stopping right there because, again, these books are transposed. So I'm going to try and read up to my Sefer, with my Sefer up until that point. So it says, and afterwards my Ruach was concealed according unto the heavens. I beheld the sons of the holy angels treading on fire, whose garments and robes were white, and whose countenances were transparent as crystal. I saw two rivers of fire glittering like hyacinth. Then I fell on my face before the Most High Shabbat, and Michael, one of the archangels, took me by the right hand and raised me up and brought me out. Brought me out where was a, excuse me, read that again. Verse 4 of the Sefer of chapter 71. It says, and Michael, one of the archangels, took me by my right hand, raised me up, and brought me out where was every secret mercy and secret righteousness. He showed me all the hidden things of the extremities of heaven, all the receptacles of the stars, and the splendors of all, from whence they went forth before thy face of the holy. And he concealed the Ruach of Enoch in the heavens of heavens. There I beheld in the midst of that light a building raised with stones of ice, and in the midst of those stones tongues of living fire. My Ruach saw around the circle of the flaming habitations, on one of its extremities, rivers full of living fire, which compassed it. Then the seraphim and the cherubim and the Ophanium surrounded it. These are those who never sleep but watch the throne of the glory. Now, when you look at the screen, and if you're really paying attention and following along, you will see that from what I read on the screen of sacred text compared to what I read in the Sefer, it's very different, but yet similar, in the sense that when they spoke in here about the faces, and they were lift up, and the elect of the elects, and it says, and the Most High of spirits placed elect one of the throne of glory, and he shall judge all the works of heavens of above. None of that is in my book, right? None of that is in my book. But it does speak about the ropes. It does speak about the Holy of Holies being there. It does speak about the angel walking Enoch through it, and Enoch being in the midst of the Most High. This is why you have to read 7 different not doctrines, but versions, because only through that and seeking through that minutia of verbiage do you get the truth. We have to, I shouldn't have to say this to you guys, but I think that everyone should wake up in the morning with this put on the mirror of their bathroom. This entire world is a lie, and it continues to lie to us. So we must go beneath and search past what they say to us in our face to find the truth. And that's with everything, from the toilet tissue you use, to the toothpaste you use, to the books that you read, to the history that you follow, to the spiritual guidance that you seek. everything on this earth is profane. So I pray nobody say, man, why we got to go through all of that just to get the word. I pray that you say, if that's what I have to do to get the word, to get the truth, then I'm all for it. I'm built for this. Let's go. The covenant, the original story, what you use as your foundation. We're reading the book of Enoch, which the Noah and Abraham referenced, meaning that this book was written before them. The book is named after someone that was the seventh born from Adam. This world is profane, so this story has been chopped up, rewritten, republished over and over and over again. So we have to get the different versions to see where this one went off and where that one went off and what is consistent throughout it. And what's consistent between what I read on the screen and what I'm reading here in the Sefer is that angels, about the righteousness of man, has measured out a place for the righteous and has given the righteous on the earth strength to endure. And that Enoch is up with the heavens, with the Most High, the Ancient of Days. And he's explaining about this glorious light that is in the heavens and is on the earth. And that is a covenant in the heavens and is a covenant in the earth. And that there are three angels, three types of angels that surround this. And it says, and he will summon all the hosts of the heavens and all the holy ones above and the host of the Most High. That's the army of the Most High, and the cherubim and the seraphim and the Ophanim, and all the angels of power and all the angels of principalities and the elect one, which is Yasha, and the other powers on the earth over the waters. On that day shall rise one voice and bless and glorify and exalt in the spirit of faith and in the spirit of wisdom and in the spirit of patience and in the spirit of mercy and in the spirit of judgment and in the spirit of goodness. And all shall say with one voice, Baraka is he. And may the name of the Most High of Spirits be blessed forever and ever. Now let's read from the Sefer as they talk about those particular principalities that will be summoned. And it says, there I beheld in the midst of that light. What light are we talking about? In the midst of that light. And then we read in the 6, it said, and all who dwell above in the heavens received a command and power, and one voice, and one light, like unto fire. So in the heavens they received this. We're talking about this as all of these seraphims are surrounding it, and that in that day of the judgment, when all the spirits are aligned and everything is heard but one voice, it's going to come from this light, this covenant, And it reads in the Sefer, there I beheld in the midst of that light a building raised with stone of ice. So in the middle of this light of heat, he has received a stone, a building of ice. And in the midst of these stones, tongues of living fire. My spirit saw around the circle of the flaming habitation. The flaming habitation, that's the sun. On one of its extremities, rivers full of living fire. So it's saying on this sun, on this light, this being, living waters of fire, which encompassed it. Then the seraphim, the cherubim, and the Ophanim, surrounded it. These are those who never sleep, but watch the throne of his glory, and beheld angels innumerable, ten of thousands, and myriads who surrounded the habitation. And it says, blessed forever. And in 12, and on the screen it says, all who sleep not above in heaven shall bless him. All the holy ones who are in the heavens shall bless him, and all the elect who dwell in the garden of life. In my book, we're talking about the thousands of thousands and the myriads and myriads who surrounded the habitation. Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, and Paniel, and the holy angels who were in the heavens above went in and out of it. So the angels go in and out of the sun. The sun has an ice mountain where the Most High habitation is, the kingdom. It's a stone, it's of ice. I mean, I love Enoch. I love the book of Enoch because as everyone wants to create these space sci-fi movies, they got much of it from what they read out of the book of Enoch. Most of the demonic religions and all of that, they took from Enoch and profaned it. Here, Enoch is giving us a vivid description of the Son, the Most High's kingdom in it, and all the holy ones blessing it. And that on the day of the judgment, that the Son and everything around it, all of the holy ones, all the blessed ones, all the elect ones, right, will glorify. And it says 11, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Peniel, and all the holy angels who were in the heavens above went in and out of it. So there's the heavens, and then there's the fiery sun that the angels go in and out of. And it says, habitations of the whole went in and out of it. Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel went out of the habitation. The holy angels innumerable, with them was the Ancient of Days, whose head was white as wool and pure, and his robe was indescribable. Ooh, that's at the end of verse 12 in my Sefer. The end of verse 12 on the screen gives you, and all the elect who dwell in the garden of life, and every spirit of the light who is able to bless and glorify and extol and hallow thy blessed name, and all flesh shall beyond measure glorify and bless thy name forever and ever. Verse 13 for them, for great is his mercy of the Lord of spirits, and he is long suffering, patient, and all his works and all that he has created has revealed to the righteous and the elect in the name of the Most High. It says what? All his works. All his works. Who created the heavens? Who created the skies? Who created the stars? Who created the moon? That would be the Most High's works. I know we take it for granted because we use it every day and it's nothing to us. We look outside to see is it going to be a sunny day, is it going to be rainy? We don't think the Most High that the sun has risen. We don't think him that, whoa, this is a covenant. We don't respect the fact that the sun coming up every day is a covenant that he's waiting for us to come back to. And it says, so 13, it ends there. My 71 goes all the way down to verse 24. So you can see how these texts are split in chapters, right? So as we end this chapter for them and go into 72 for the sacred books, I'm still in 71 in my Sefer. So I'm going to finish my 71, which will fall into their 72, right? And it says, verse 13, then I fell upon my face, while all my flesh was dissolved, and my spirit became changed. I cried out with a loud voice, with a powerful ruach, blessing, the glorifying, and exalting. And those blessings which proceeded from my mouth became acceptable in the presence of the Ancient of Days. Woo, woo. So Enoch was blessed, man. He got an opportunity to give praise unto the Most High in his face and be accepted. Knew that his praise on him was accepted immediately. We hope, because we know we done did some dirty things. We know what our mind thinks. We know what our heart wants. So we give praise and we just pray to get there because we know it's got to go through a whole bunch of our flesh. But Enoch got it all top. So what it reads here, it says, and thus the Most High commanded the kings and the mighty and exalted and those who dwell on the earth and said, open your eyes and lift up your horns if ye are able to recognize the elect one. And the Lord of Spirits seated him on the throne. Now, let's see how this is going to go. And it says, for me, 14, and I cried out with a loud voice, with a powerful ruach, blessing the Most High and exalting, and those blessings which proceeded from my mouth became acceptable in the presence of the Ancient of Days. The Ancient of Days came with Michael and Gabriel and Raphael and Panuel, with thousands of thousands and myriads of myriads which could not be numbered. Then that angel came to me, and with his voice saluted me, saying, you are the son of Adam, who is born for righteousness. Whoa. Verse 17 of chapter 71 of Enoch, it says, then that angel, it says not the ones we had named, right? It says, then that angel came to me, and with his voice saluted me, saying, you are the son of Adam, who is born of righteousness, and righteousness has rested upon you. The righteous of the Ancient of Days shall not forsake you. He said, on you shall he confer peace in the name of the existing world. For from thence has peace gone forth since the world was created. So Yahshua, who is our Savior, who is the elect one, who came many years after this instance with Enoch, that came in the flesh for us, he goes to Enoch in the heavens and tells him that the Most High will not banish him, that he will be of peace, right? That he will be of peace, and that it's going to come from the one that gave peace in the beginning. He said, on you shall he confer peace in the name of the existing world, knowing that this world is going to end. They knew this way back there in Enoch. This is what's happening now. They're speaking about this world as it is a temporary world, as our existence is temporary, but our energy cannot be destroyed. That's what we read in 70, right? It can't be destroyed. This time will end. We are at the end of the Gentile rule. This time will end. This earth will end. Your energy will not end. The Ancient of Days does not end. The elect one does not end. Your grace and mercy does not end. So it says, verse 20. And thus shall it happen to you forever and ever. All who shall exist and who shall walk in your path of righteousness shall not forsake you forever. So Enoch is being told by Yahshua, the one that they call Jesus, that if everybody walk in his name or walk in his way, he'll be saved. And not only did he say if they walk in the way of Enoch that they will be saved, but he says that all who shall exist, who shall walk in your path of righteousness, shall not forsake you forever. And then they also refer to him as the son of Adam. So Enoch is being referred to the same way that what you call as Jesus was referred to by the same person they referred to as Jesus. I know that may be a little twisty right there, baby. That might be a little complicated for you to understand, because they write it like this. It ain't that you got bad understanding. It's the way they write this stuff. So what it's saying right here is that the person that we all call the son of Adam, because Adam was the first man. So every person that comes after that is the son of Adam. So Yasha, even though he is of the Most High and he is the elect one, when he becomes flesh, he becomes son of Adam. So now, son of Adam, son of Adam, we call, or y'all call, Jesus. We call Yasha that came. But in the heavens before he came, he is putting these same rights, he's putting these same titles onto Enoch. And he's saying, just like they say, just like we say right now, if you follow the way of what Yasha did, if you follow the walk of his righteousness, then you will be saved. So this is what we call a precept in scripture, where you can go find it in another book. So this is a precept. This is Enoch, really, which is the original one. We would have to say that Yasha would be the precept to Enoch. Now Jesus is the precept to Enoch because Enoch came before Jesus or Yasha. So it's by right that he would be back to the beginning. When we talk about understanding these scriptures to know the truth, because once you uncover the truth, like we just uncovered this truth just now, we just uncovered that the so-called Jesus entity and the title and the glory that's given to him, that every man's supposed to walk in his way and have salvation, that this same entity was created in the beginning of time with the Ancient of Days. And this was the elect one in the heavens because he is known as the one that was going to come to the earth and give his life and go through what he went through for the salvation of mankind. This individual that knew that he was going to do all these things, he is giving the same moniker that would be given unto him centuries and thousands of years later. He's giving it to Enoch in this moment. So when you read in these gospels the good news, and Yasha says that you can do greater things than I. And he says you can do greater things than I. You can move mountains if you have the faith of a mustard seed. He is reflecting or referencing Enoch. That you can do, because Enoch is the same. You want every man to follow in Enoch's path because then you will be righteous. Enoch did not die. Enoch was transfigured. Yasha actually was killed. Enoch didn't die. He lived so righteous that he was just taken into the heavens. As we read in the earlier chapters of Enoch, he was the one that was negotiating between the fallen angels and the Most High. So one could say that Enoch may have done some greater things than Yasha. We don't know. Enoch didn't heal anyone. I hadn't seen the stuff about him healing like Yasha did. There weren't 250 or 300 prophecies of what Yasha, would do. They didn't have that for Enoch. But also what's different was that the entire world followed Enoch in his time. Yasha, they persecuted him. Enoch, they followed. So much that when he was transfigured, he had nations following him to go where he went. But he gave a son, and they followed his son afterwards. So, as we're reading here, verse 20, it says, and thus shall it happen to you forever and ever. Verse 21, all who shall exist and who shall walk in your path of righteousness shall not forsake you forever. With you shall be their habitation. With you their lot. Nor from you shall they be separated forever and ever. And thus shall length of days be with the son of Adam. Peace shall be to the righteous, and the path of integrity shall the righteous pursue. In the name of the Most High Shabbat forever and ever. So let me see what this, how they end off it here. It says, and the Most High Spirit seated him on the throne of his glory, and the Spirit of righteousness was poured out upon him, and the word of his mouth slays all the sinners, and all the unrighteous are destroyed before his face. And there shall stand up in that day all the kings and the mighty and the exalted, and those who hold the earth, and they shall see and recognize how he sits on the throne of his glory, and righteousness is judged before him, and no lying word is spoken before him. Then shall pain come upon them, on a woman that travails in the womb, and the portion of them that shall look over them be terrified, downcast. So let me go further here, because that may not, they're really off here. Let me see. Yes, indeed. They go off on this one a little bit, guys. I may have to stick strictly to the Sefer. And it says, verse 24, chapter 72. The Sefer of the revolutions of the luminaries of the heavens according to the respective classes and their respective ways. And that's what we're supposed to be. I don't know why this thing has gone to. This should be the luminary, unraveling the repentance of the kings and the mighty. That is not it. It's supposed to be the luminaries. Look like we have separated from our computer. One second, guys. Trying to get to this luminaries. I really want y'all to be synced up together. Yeah, it's not easy to get to link up these computers and written books, unless you buy the extra app from the books, right? Yeah, see, that's all the way in 72. They missed my whole luminaries. Anyway, all right. These people. Here we go. That's all the way in chapter 73. Anyway, let's go. Chapter 72. So we're talking about the sun. We're talking about the glory and the covenant of the sun. So the Sefer of the revolutions of the luminaries of the heavens, according to their respective classes, their respective powers, their respective periods, their respective names, and the places where they commence their progress, and their respective months, which Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, explained to me, he who conducted them, the whole account of them, according to every year of the world forever. So Enoch is talking to Uriel. Uriel is telling him of the periods of the paths of the luminaries. That's the sun and the moon and the stars until the end of the world. Again, doubling down on 71 that there is and has always been a finite time for our existence and the existence of this world as it is. It says, the whole account of them according to every year of the world forever until until a new work shall be effected, which will be eternal. So even though we know that this world shall end, we understand that the next world that comes will be eternal because it will be the kingdom of the Most High. This is the first law of the luminaries. So this is the first law. This is the first covenant. So when it says that this is the first law of the luminaries, this is the first covenant with man because the luminaries is what makes the earth grow. If the sun stops shining, everything dies on this earth, including us. So our covenant is with this sun. As long as the sun is going, we going. Chapter 2, chapter 72, verse 2. This is the first law of the luminaries. The sun and the light arrive at the gates of heaven, which are on the east and on the west of it at the western, on the east and on the west of it at the western gates of heaven. So the light arrives, right? So it says, this is the first, the sun and the light arrive at the gates of the heaven, which are on the east and on the west of it at the western gates. So the east and the west, where the heavens are, is where the sun goes. And it's at the western gates of heaven. I beheld the gates whence the sun goes forth, and the gates where the sun sets, in which the gates also the moon rises and sets, and the conductors of the stars among those who proceed among those who precede them. So there's something that goes before the sun. There's something that moves before the sun moves. I read it again. In which gates also the moon rises and sets, and the conductors of the stars among those who precede them. The conductors. So Uriel is the head conductor. It says 6 at the rising and 6 at the setting of the sun. So there's 6 conductors that go out at the rising and 6 conductors that go out the setting of the sun. All these respectively, one after another, are on a level, and numerous windows are on the right and on the left sides of those gates. So you got a gate, and then you got levels, because that's where the 6 levels that where the angels or the ones the conductors are, right? And then you have windows on the side of those gates, right? You can either go this way or you can go this way with it, right? However you want to go. I just wanted to get y'all to get a visual. There's a gate, and there's windows on the gates, and there's conductors that have 6 levels to this, of where the sun is coming out. Okay. Now remember, the sun is coming out of the actual gate, but there are windows and there are levels. And it says, verse 5, all these respectively, one after another, are on a level. So the gate is large, the window is a level. The next window is a level. The conductors conduct each level with a window. And it says, all these respectively, one after another, are on a level and numbered. I say, and numerous windows are on the right and on the left hand side of those gates. First proceeds forth the gate, the great luminary, which is the sun. That's in the building sky. So the first thing to proceed is the great luminary, which is called the sun, the orb, which is as the orb of heaven. So earlier, when we described that the angels go in and out, and that there is an ice kingdom or an ice castle on the sun. Now in 72 is telling us that that's not the actual sun that we have, but there is a sun that is in the heavens as well, that is a bright orb that is the same as the sun, that is the covenant for the earth. Okay, well, let's continue to read. It says, the whole of it being replete with splendid and flaming fire. Okay, so it says, the first perceived forth the great luminary, which is called the sun, the orb of which is as the orb of heaven. So they're not saying that it's a planet, they're saying it's an orb. The whole of it being replete with splendor and flaming fire. Let's look what an orb is. Look up the definition of orb. Because, we got to go into our stories, right? What is the beginning? They want to tell you that was planets were in the beginning. Well, let's see what the definition of. Oops, I didn't want to go down. No, Amazon. No. We like to go out our 1828 Noah Webster Dictionary. So it says an orb is a spherical body as a celestial orb. So celestial orbs. In astronomy, a hollow globe or sphere. A wheel, a circular body that revolves or rolls as an orb or as an orb of a chariot. A circle, a sphere defined as a line as he moves in a larger orb. A circle described by any mundane sphere in orbit. 6. Period. Revolution of time. So, revolution of time. So, the sun, the luminaries, as it says in Enoch, is going to be here for a time that the earth is still here until it's destroyed. So the sun is the covenant. It lets us know that we're still in his good measure under grace and mercy. Because when the sun is over, then the revolution of this time, the revolution of this 7,000 years, this 5,000 years, this Gentile rule, when that is over, it will be signified by the sun no longer making its revolution. Its revolution around the four corners of the earth. So that's the definition of an orb. And it fits with exactly what Enoch is saying that the sun is a representation of a covenant, an agreement of time. Every agreement has a duration of time of the agreement, whether it be perpetual for all time, whether it be a limited time, year, 5 years, 7 years. But a covenant, a contract, is marked by its duration, its revolutions. I pray that y'all are understanding. I pray that you guys are understanding that our first covenant is the luminary, the sun. Our first law, our first commandment, right? The first law that was given is the sun. And our bodies, our minds, our everything rotates on the health of that sun, as well dictated upon the health of that sun and the rotations of that sun. Now, y'all know the people that are in control of this world. You know, if they could change the way the sun rotated for their benefit, they would. You know that. They already have DARPA, where they're creating, weather patterns. They already have CERN, where they're trying to find the God particle. So if they had the capability of changing the revolutions or the movements of the sun and the moon, they would, but they can't because it's not their story, it's not their beginning, it's not their covenant. It is ours. And it says, verse 7, its chariot, as it says here, as a description of the orb, where it ascends, the wind blows, the sun sets in heaven, and returning by the north to proceed towards the east is conducted, towards the east is conducted so as to enter by the gate and illuminate the face of heaven. In the sun, in the same manner, it goes forth in the first month by the great gate. So it's telling you that the rotation of the sun's first order, it gives light unto the heavens. And it says the same manner it goes forth in the first month. So just like our months are set by its 30 days by the rotations of the sun and the moon. That's how we set our months. It is our covenant. Everything is rotating off of this sun and this moon, how our society works. But yet they tell you there is no God, there is no creator. Verse 10. It goes forth through the fourth of those 6 gates, which are at the rising of the sun. And in the fourth gate from which the sun rises in the first month, there are 12 open windows, from which issues out a flame. When they are opened in their proper periods, so the windows open in proper periods to let forth the sun rays onto the earth, all gauged, all done by the Most High and his conductors. Verse 12. When the sun rises in the heaven, it goes forth through this fourth gate 30 days, and by the fourth gate in the west of the heaven on a level with it descendant, with it descends. Verse 13. During the period, the day is lengthened from the day, and the night curtailed from the night for 30 days. And then the day is longer by 2 parts than the night. The day is precisely 10 parts, and the night is 8. So here he's breaking down how much sun, how much night there is. Everything has rotated off of this book of Enoch. Everything that we know as nutrition, as our cicadic, I don't know why I cannot pronounce it. Starts with a C, but it is our rhythms of sleep patterns, circadic rhythms, right? All comes from Enoch. Enoch is explaining them by the hours. Verse 15: the sun goes forth through its fourth gate and sets in it, and turns to the fifth gate during 30 days, after which it proceeds from and sets in the fifth gate. Then the day becomes lengthened by a second portion, so that it is 11 parts, while the night becomes shortened and is only 7 parts. The sun now returns to the east, entering into the sixth gate and rising and settling in the sixth gate 31 days on account of its signs. At that period, the day is longer than the night, being twice the night, and become 12 parts. But the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. Then the sun rises up that the day may be shortened and the night lengthened. For all those people that believe that these scriptures are, I don't know what they think meant by this people, that people. But if you want to test it, you can look at the rotations of our seasons, and you can look at the rotations of our months, and it will match up to Enoch precisely. Verse 20. And the sun returns towards the east, entering into the sixth gate, where it rises and sets for 30 days. When the period is completed, the day becomes shortened precisely 1 part, so that it is 11 parts, while the night is 7 parts. Then the sun goes from the west, from that sixth gate, and proceeds eastward, rising in the fifth gate for 30 days, and setting again westward in the fifth gate of the west. At that period, the day becomes shortened 2 parts and is 10 parts, while the night is 8 parts. Then the sun goes from the fifth gate as it sets in the fifth gate of the west and rises in the fourth gate for 31 days on account of its sign setting in the west. At that period, the day is made equal with the night, and being equal with it, the night becomes 9 parts and the day 9 parts. Then the sun goes from that gate, as it sets in the west, and returning to the east, proceeds by the third gate in 30 days, setting in the west at the third gate. At the third period, the night is lengthened from the day during 30 mornings, and the day is curtailed from the day during 30 days, the night being 10 parts precisely, and the day 8 parts. The sun now goes from the third gate as it sets in the third gate in the second gate, sets in the third gate in the west, but returning to the east, it proceeds to the second gate of the east for 30 days. In like manner, also it sets in the second gate in the west of heaven. At that period, the night is 11 parts and the day is 7 parts. Now, that may be a little bit boring to some of you guys, sort of like when we went through the book of Leviticus, right? But it's very important to know that these things have been written, that there is no hocus pocus. All of these aliens and planet things, the Most High has written to us to understand everything that moves in the heavens and on the earth, for us to know that it is His will. His hand is at work. His hand is at work, not man's hands at work. So He lays all this stuff out painstakingly for you to go and be able to check. And you can know when you wake up on October and you see that you have daylight savings time, you can know that, okay, it's according to the Most High, the sun is setting in the fourth window, it's coming out the east, so we've got 10 hours of, we've got, we got shortened time, so we've got, instead of 8, 24 is 24, so that's 12. So you like when it said 12 and 12 when it's even, right? So you got a 24-hour time period, right? You can say at this time, we were at a 8 to a 12 because you only got 8 days, 8 hours of sun, and everything is going down at 6 o'clock or going down at 5 o'clock, as opposed to now it raises up and after daylight savings time and you have more. They call it daylight savings time, but Enoch just stated that it was in a different portal and a different gate. We didn't have to change the times. We don't have to move it. Enoch just saying that, hey, it's in a different portal, so therefore you're going to get more sunlight on this time and you're going to get less sunlight on this day. And that means that you should plant according to that. Plants that need more sun, you plant during these months when the portal's in this date and the portal's in that gate. Very important. And it says in verse 27, at that period, the night is lengthened from the day during 30 mornings, and the day is curtailed from the day during 30 days, the night being 10 parts precisely, and the day 8 parts. The sun now goes from third gate as it sets in the third gate in the west, but returning to the east, it proceeds by the second gate of the east for 30 days. In like manner also it sets in the second gate in the west of heaven. At that period, the night is 11 parts and the day 7 parts. Then the sun goes at that time from the second gate as it sets in the second gate in the west, but returns to the east, proceeding by the first gate for 31 days, and sets in the west in the first gate. At that period, that night is lengthened as much again as the day. It is 12 parts precisely, while the day is 6 parts. The sun is completed, let's say the sun has completed its beginnings, and a second time goes round from these beginnings. Into the gate it enters for 30 days, and it sets in the west. So if it does this rotation twice, that means 6 months and 6 months, right? 12 months, right? So that's where it's 10. You figured that out. Verse 36. Into the gate it enters for 30 days and sets in the west in the opposite part. At that period, the night is contracted in its length a fourth part, that is one portion, and becomes 11 parts. Then the day is 7 parts. Then the sun returns and enters into the second gate of the east. It returns by these beginnings 30 days, rising and setting. At that period, the night is contracted in its length. It becomes 10 parts, and the day 8 parts. Then the sun goes from the second gate and sets in the west, but returns to the east and rises in the east, in the third gate, 31 days, setting in the west of heaven. At that period, the night becomes shortened. It is 9 parts, and the night is equal with the day. The year is precisely 364 days. So, we have 365 days because they created leap year, but according to Enoch and the way that the heavens write it is 364 days. The lightning of the day and the night and the contractions of the day and night are made to differ for each other by the progress of the sun. By means of this progress, the day is daily lightened and the night greatly shortened. So it's saying the progress of the sun, the rotation of the sun, because it's an orb and it does its revolutions. And who sets those revolutions? Who set those windows? How does the sun stay in its order? It is by the Most High. Verse 45 of chapter 72 of Enoch. This is the law and progress of the sun, and its turning when it turns back. 6 months here, 6 months there, turning during 60 days and going forth. This is the great everlasting luminary, that which he names the sun forever and ever. This also is which goes forth a great luminary, and which is named after its particular kind, as Elohim commanded. And thus it goes in and out, neither slacking nor resting, but running on its chariot by day and by night. Its light is 7 times brighter than that of the moon, but the dimensions of both are equal. So the orb, the size of the moon and the size of the sun are the same, but the sun is 7 times brighter, right? So we're going to read 73, and then we're going to go into our Psalm 72. Remember all of this, and we're reading this, and I know it may seem very not exciting. It may not seem like it's something that is enriching and giving you the Ruach HaKodesh and getting you on. Sometimes facts, the calm, the cold-hearted facts, is sometimes things that we need to hear. And no one can tell you the rotations of the sun as though they created them. Only the book, the prophets, our ancestors that have come here, can give that from the Most High. This world has lied about everything. It's telling you that there are planets and aliens. They need to block the sun in order to stop global warming, stopping the Most High's covenant for a mistake that you've made. That's indicative of man today. Man will make a mistake, and before he will admit it, he will do as as Cain. He will have animosity against his brother or his sister before he admits what he's done wrong or what she's done wrong. They will project at other people. They will attack, all the while to not have the attention drawn upon them. It's the same with not just with Cain and Abel, but I just had the example in my mind too. But it is what man does, unfortunately, in this hour, as ugly as it is in this hour. Very few of us, men or women, will step up to their faults, to their brothers and sisters. So instead, we deflect. Hold on 1 second, guys, before my phone goes dead. I gotta get a plug in here. 1 second. I got wires and plugs everywhere. All right. Sorry about that, guys. So as I was saying, these things may seem tedious and seem like they're not fun. They're not invoking the spirit, but sometimes the cold hard facts of reality is the thing that wakes us up. When we can realize that when a man is looking at us in our face and telling us about planets and aliens and blocking out the sun and vaccines and all of these hyperbolic things, all these people are dying. You got to do this. You got to do this if you don't want to die. If you don't want to die, you don't want to die. There's two deaths in our scripture. There's the physical and there's the spiritual. The one that controls the sun and the moon and its rotations controls that second death, that spiritual death. Because your energy doesn't die. Your energy continues on. Your flesh is a small time frame. So let's go. And it says verse 73, both equal. Chapter 73 of Enoch. After this law, I beheld another law of an inferior luminary, the name of which is the moon, and the orb of which is the orb of heaven. It's the orb of heaven. Its chariot secretly ascends. The wind blows, and light is given to it by measure. Every month at its exit and entrance it becomes changed, and its periods are as the periods of the sun. And when the moon is full, its light is a seventh portion from the light of the sun. Thus it rises, and at the commencement towards the east goes forth for 30 days. At the time it appears at the time it appears and becomes to you the beginning of the month. So here it says when the moon comes to us, appears, and I believe it's a full moon, it's the beginning of the month. 30 days with the sun and the gate from which the sun goes forth. Half of it is extent 7 portions. One, and the whole of its orb is void of light, except a seventh portion out of the 14th portion of its light, of its light. And in the day it received a seventh portion or half of its light. Its light is by sevens. So when we see the moon coming in with a sliver, when we see the moon coming in full, it's going through its monthly rotation. As the sun rises from different portals, it gives a certain amount of light unto the moon. As it's going through its rotation, the sun going through its rotation now of the month, the moon is receiving the light from the reflection of the rotation of the sun. So the moon will go in sevenths. It grows in sevenths until it's a full moon. The first light, the first slither, not the first slither, but when you first see the first crescent, the first seventh of the moon is the beginning of the month until you get to the full moon, right? And it says, now the 14th portion of its light, and in the day it receives a seventh portion or half of its light. Its light is by sevens, by one portion, and by the half. It sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with it, receiving half a portion of light. On that night, when it commences its period, previously on the day of the month, the moon sets with the sun. And on the night it is dark, 14 portions, that is half. So the moon grows by sevenths, right? And it's saying half of the entire moon is 14 portions. So that means that the full moon has 28 portions, right? So 2 times 14 is 28. So you would have 28 portions of the moon. 28 days in a month. The moon doesn't show for 1 or 2 days, right? 14 of portion, that is half, but it rises on the third day, but it rises on that day with 1/7 portion precisely, and and in its progress declines from the rising of the sun. During the remainder of its period, its light increases to 14 portions. All right. So that's the end of chapter 73 of Enoch. And remember, Enoch has 105. We are 31 chapters away from it, because at 75 to 105 is 30, right? 75 to 100 is 25, so 105 and 30, right? So we're 31 chapters away from finishing the book of Enoch before we get to that revelation. Yeah, we're going to get into that revelation, something serious. Woo. So we are now going to our Psalms chapter 72. I know that's the first thumbs up I've seen tonight. Seemed like it was a little rough for everybody to go through all of those painstakingly detail-oriented scripture about our covenant. And just like any contract, there's details, right? There's a lot of details in the contract. So, as we're in Psalm 72, let's get some of that spiritual healing and upliftment, right? As if you didn't get from the cold hard facts that no man, no science, that every science, every book has gotten their rotations, their almanacs, all of their understanding of the sun and the moon, its foundation comes from the scripture. The foundation, man. The foundation to build on, Psalm 72. Give the king your judgment, O Elohim, and your righteousness unto the king's son. He shall judge your people with righteousness, and your poor with judgment. Praise Aran, and said, righteousness on your and your poor with judgment. The mountains shall bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness. He shall judge the poor of the people. He shall save the children of the needy, and shall break in pieces the oppressor. That's the prayer we all are asking in this hour. As our family members and our friends, our ones that we call dummies that we knew all our life, the ones that we said that can't get right, all the way to the ones that we said, man, they smart, man, that they really achieve things. Everybody in between is taking this vaccine. From your dumbest friend to your smartest person that you admire is taking the shot. The scripture tells us exactly what that is. The scripture tells us the rock that we need to stand on. The world is telling us that if we don't have this shot, then we won't be able to buy food. We won't be able to go to sporting events. We won't be able to do this. We won't be able to do that. We will be shoved out of society. Shoved out of society. Y'all can think it's a game. Y'all can think it's a long game if you want. This is far down the stretch, but it's not. This prayer that we're praying for in verse 4, it says, He shall judge the poor of the people. He shall save the children of the needy and shall break in pieces the oppressor. The ones that are telling us what we have to have in order to be a part of society. You have a government that, because of his this red tape, bureaucratic red tape, took 3 hours to send police officers to the Capitol when there was an insurrection. The same government wanted to hail and support these people that died trying to take over the government. You have senators that are sticking with other congressmen that have spoken these hateful words of the past commander and dummy. You have the justification of iniquity everywhere. But when it comes to the scripture, nobody wants to make any concessions to that. Nobody wants to say, well, maybe break my back on this, or man, if I want to live, I got to do that. Everything in this world, they say that for. Everything in this world, they'll break their shoulders for. Everything in this world, they'll make a compromise for. Everything in this world, they'll make an excuse for. When it comes to scripture, oh no, point blank, I don't want to hear it. No, it can't be that. No, some white man, bro, you got a quick answer for it. You got a quick lie for it. You got a quick defense for it. You got all of this. But for the world, you willing to bend over and spread your butt cheeks wide open. You are willing to bend over and spread your butt cheeks open wide to compromise to be a part of a world that you know in your heart of hearts means you no good, means you and your community and your family no good. They lie to you in your face. They piss on your shoes and tell you it's raining. They smack you in the face and tell you that your Savior was about turning the other cheek, when actually he said that he hates all evil and all iniquity, and he condemns it and damns it. But you allow someone to come along and tell you that being peaceful, as they redefine what peaceful is, because in order to be peace, they understand you have to have war first. Before you can have peace, you have to have war. What is your war? And can you have peace without it? Because if you're not warring in your life to stand on this rock, if you're not warring against principalities in your life, then you won't have peace. If you're not warring with evil, how are you going to have peace in the Most High? if you are laying down with evil, if you are compromising with evil, if you are giving your soul to evil, how do you expect to have the peace of the Most High? Verse 5, they shall fear you as long as the sun and the moon endure throughout all generations. Do you see how 72 ties in to what we just read about the sun and the moon and the first law? Because it says here in chapter 72 of Psalms, verse 5, they shall fear the Most High. They shall fear you as long as the sun and the moon endure throughout all generations. I see you in the building, Big Chief Black. The first law is of the first luminary that has these windows with these gates and these 6 conductors, and Uriel as the top conductor angel that is making sure the sun and the moon does not miss its appointed times, because it's part of the covenant unto us. It is the covenant that he, our creator, has made with us. That sun and that moon going to continue to go. It's going to continue to feed you. It's going to continue to feed your crops. It's going to continue to grow your fields and your trees. It's going to continue to grow your fish. It's going to continue to give you life until the end of the Gentile rule, when I come and destroy everything and bring my perfect kingdom to this earth that will be eternal. And these spirits that were able to endure, the spirits that recognized and respected and loved the covenant which the Father gave us, and walked in righteousness as Enoch, as Abraham, as Moses, as Yahshua, those energies that never die will be in the bosom, will live in that peace eternally. Verse 6, he shall come down like rain upon the mown grass, as showers that water the earth. In his days shall the righteous flourish, and abundance of peace, so long as the moon endures. And then it said to us in Enoch that the moon was the orb of the heavens. That the moon was the orb of heaven. Verse 8, Psalm 72. He shall have dominion also from sea to sea, and from river unto the ends of the earth. They that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lick the dust. The kings of Tarshish of Spain and all the isles of Europe shall bring presents. The kings of Sheba, which is Ethiopian Seba, shall offer gifts. Yea, all kings shall fall down before him, all nations shall serve him. For he shall deliver the needy when he cries, the poor also, and him that has no helper. He shall spare the poor and the needy, and shall save the souls of the needy. He shall redeem their souls from deceit and violence, and precious shall their blood be in his sight. Your blood ain't precious in nobody's sight but the one that created it, the one that gave you this covenant of the moon and the stars and the sun. Verse 15, and he shall live, and to him shall be given of the gold of Sheba. Prayers also shall be made for him continually, and daily shall he be praised. I praise him now. I ain't have to wait till all this commotion happen. I'm trying to get this covering, this grace and mercy, so I'm giving praise constantly. 16, there shall be a handful of grain in the earth upon the top of the mountains. The fruit thereof shall shake like Lebanon, and they of the city shall flourish like grass of the earth. His name shall endure forever. His name shall be continued as long as the sun, and men shall be blessed, Barakas in him. All nations shall call him Baraka, blessed. Hakodesh means holy. Hakodesh, Hakodesh, because that is what's said in the heavens 24/7. All the angels, all of the luminaries, everybody constantly in heaven is saying Kodesh, Kodesh, holy, holy, holy. That's how you give praise. You are saying unto the Most High that He is pure. You are saying that His elect one is pure. You are saying you are holy, holy, Hakodesh, Hakodesh, Hakodesh. Not that praise. You the baddest man alive, Jesus. Jesus, you know you're a bad boy. Jesus, I wish I could sew like you. I wish I could do feathers like you. I wish I could draw like you. I wish I could do things you do. You so bad. Ain't no pinky in the brain situation going on. Ain't no yes men happening in the heavens. They're acknowledging His works. Ain't no yes men, ain't no kissing no butt. Whenever they're saying praise and giving him holy, they're saying, you got the sun moving in orbit, you got the moon, you got angels, you holy, holy, holy. Verse 18. Baraka be the Most High Elohim, the Eloi of Yasharal, who only does wondrous things. And Baraka be his glorious name forever, and let the whole earth be filled with his glory. Amen, amen. The prayer of David, the son of Yashi, are ended. And that was Jesse. When I said Yashi, the prayers of David, son of Jesse, are ended. So that is our scriptures for tonight, guys. I pray that you understand that even though we have to have the tedious things in our lives, the way we just went through with the scriptures of the sun and its gates and its windows was a very tedious thing. But your life is tedious. Your life is detail oriented. Your breath that you don't even think about breathing, the fact that you have a default system in your body that tells you when to breathe, tells you when to use the bathroom, gives you a warning before the bathroom, right? That you don't just expose yourself immediately. There's an intellectual design to your body. There's an intellectual design to your mind. You are way past an evolution of Darwin. You are way past an evolution, an upgrade of a monkey. And if we are coming from monkeys, then why is it Elon Musk Neuralink working for monkeys? Oh, because a monkey can do some sign language? No, show me a monkey that is speaking like a human being. If you can upgrade my mind so that I can be this supernatural, superhuman being, let me see you make a monkey a human, because Darwinism said that we came from monkeys, but yet with all of your electronics, all your technology, all your intelligence, you cannot turn a monkey into a man to this day. But you want to transfigure my mind, my body, and my soul for your experiment, for your mad scientist experiment, when the Most High, the original scientist, the one that has created all things, that man in its so-called science is backtracking. They're deconstructing what he has created. They cannot reproduce what he has done. Man can't even reproduce the pyramids that are in Egypt to this day. Facts. They can't even figure out, is it a burial? Is it an energy chamber? They still don't know what it is. They cannot back engineer what the Most High has done. They created CERN, the particle beam collider, that is taking particles, atoms rather, finite atoms, and speeding them 17 miles around in a circle in opposite directions until they let them meet. And they're trying to recreate the Big Bang Theory to try and find out what the Creator did. That in itself proves that there is something bigger than you. There's something bigger than this government. There's something bigger than man. And man has no clue. None. None whatsoever. But they'll write a lot of books. They'll create a lot of universities. They'll create a lot of laws. And they want you to forget that they're going against laws of nature and that they're going against the Most High's laws in what they're doing. But see, they have a really good PR team. They have a really good propaganda machine. They have a lot of GMO foods that doesn't allow us to think. They have a lot of fructose corn syrup in our diet so that we can't function properly. We have many indoctrinations from kindergarten until 12th grade that tells us that people of melon are nothing, but yet our melanated DNA or our melon itself, the actual gene of melon is traded on the stock market at a higher rate than gold. But we're the stupid ones. We're the ones that can't get our communities together. We're the ones that need welfare. We're the underprivileged. My. What we can believe when we don't study for ourselves. The tricks that we can be susceptible to when we don't know the information for ourselves. I see my cousins in the building, Justin Brown, all praises to the Most High. Love you, cuz. Long time. So what I want to say to you guys as we end tonight, that even though this Enoch was very tedious and very detail oriented to give you the true destinations of the sun and the moon and where it comes from and how is the first covenant between the Most High and us on this earth, I pray that you don't get lost in the minutia of those details and understand the power and the glory that He has bestowed upon us, and that our belief and our steadfastness and our patience in Him will give us everything of righteousness. Yeah, nah. Patience and loving the Most High ain't gonna get you a Benz. Patience and loving the Most High ain't gonna get you the fly girl. Patience and loving the Most High and His laws and statutes is gonna get you ousted by community. It's gonna get you alienated. It's gonna get you to be set apart. So if you ain't built for it, if you don't love the Most High out of true love and not for what you can gain, you're not ready for this. If you love the Most High because you love what created you, you love the opportunity to get closer to that energy, that source that is about nothing but goodness and righteousness, then you understand that this world is not about goodness and righteousness. And that the more you exhibit being good and righteousness, the more they will point fingers at you. The more they will say you're a naysayer. The more they will say you are holier than thou. The more they will say you are listening to Jewish fables, or that you are believing in white man's words when they refuse to read for themselves, when they barely have a college education, when they barely have read anything but their control manual for their remote control. Refuse to read, refuse to have knowledge, want everything from street knowledge, want everything from their own minds, everything from the rhythm of their lips and the rhythm of their hips. But refuse to search and seek, refuse to do the work that is needed. Salvation isn't for the weak, happiness isn't for the weak, success isn't for the weak. And there's rules to all of that. So why isn't there rules and why isn't there strife when it comes to getting your celestial body and mind in order and in line with the Most High? Why wouldn't there be? It's what you want. You're going to have to fight for life, period. You're going to fight for iniquity and you're going to fight for righteousness. It's a fact. This world is about a fight. Once you get over it, get over the fact that you're going to fight. If you want to be a senator, then you're going to have to fight every other person that wants that particular seat. You're going to have to make deals that you're not going to be comfortable with so that you can get the allegiance and the support of the people you need in order to get to the position that you want. I use politics, but it's just a parable of all things. If you want to be an actor, you got to align yourself with the right people. You got to put yourself in the industry. You got to know the jargon. Everything is the same no matter what you do. It only seems to come to your creator that you want to be brand new. I pray that y'all take this word tonight and that you seek for yourself and that you know that the Most High loves you and that He's waiting for you, and that the covenant, as long as the sun and the moon goes in this rotation, it's still there for you, no matter what you've done in your life. I don't care if you just clicked on to my live right now, you smacking somebody up or shooting somebody, or you are cheating someone, or you are in the midst of doing some iniquity. Right now, you can repent and turn away, and the Most High is going to love you. You're going to pay for what you do. That's called being a man or a woman, you know. I don't know if you want to get out of jail free card. Only, no. We want to earn everything that we get, because then no one can take it from us. So with that said, go and get your connection to the Most High that nobody can take. Me shalom. See y'all on Shabbat. That's right. Shabbat. Me shalom.